welcome to my channel. This video will show you how I made this card using the Stampin Up Swallowtail stamp. I'm also going to show you how to make an envelope for this card because this card is oversized. This stamp is very large, and the card dimensions for this is 5 by 6, and that will not fit a standard envelope. So I'm going to show you two ways of how to make an envelope for this card. Also, I'm going to show you how you can center such a large image on your panel using a technique with the MISTI. So let me clear this stuff away and show you the materials that is used to make this card. Alright, first the paper. The papers are not your usual sizes, so I had to make a few notes so I don't get lost. The card base is 10 inches by 6 inches, scored at 5.5. No, sorry, scored at 5. That's why I made notes. I have two panels of beige, which are 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. I have one panel of white, which is 4 by 5. This is more than is needed. And I have a burgundy panel, which is 4.5 by 5.5. I also have a square of pattern paper. It's white on one side and very fancy on this side. This is 9 inches square. This will be for making the envelope. If you decide not to make an envelope and you just go ahead and buy one, you don't need this. The stamp sets I'm using today is Stampin Up Sincere Salutations, Stampin Up Edgy Eloquence, and also the Swallowtail. I'm also going to be using the butterfly Thinlits. There'll be some little embossing, so of course I need the embossing buddy. I need white embossing powder, yellow embossing powder, and I will also need gold glitter tape and gold rhinestones. The inks I'm using today is going to be Hero Art Shadow Ink Raspberry Jam and Versafine Onyx Black, and I will also need Versamark watermark stamp pad. I'm going to be using my stamp-a-ma-jig today, so I need that, and the envelope punch board by We Are Memory Keepers. This comes with I'm having a, what is this thing called? A bowl folder, which is part of the design, and I'll show you how to use this. I think that's everything, so let me clear these things away and I'll show you how to make the card. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to get the image centered on the card. I have already put the stamp onto my MISTI tool, and you'll need a piece of paper. This is just copy paper, which is 5.5 by 8.5. So I've grabbed an inks. I hope you can see this. This is green. And you just put the stamp generally where you want it to be. And I put it specifically toward the bottom because I need to stamp it 2 times in 2 different places. But this technique will work for both. So you just give one good stamping onto the paper. There. And let me clean this off because I don't want that green stain. Give me a second on this one. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside for a minute and bring in a ruler. Okay. What I need to do is make guidelines around the stamp to let me know where is the margin that I want. So I'm going to make a line 1/4 inch higher than the wing on this side and try to get it straight if I can. Okay, 1/4 inch, and same thing from the other side. and the top and the bottom also. Now this one I want to line up this line that I already drew so that it will be perpendicular. That's how I know that I have my line straight. And again on the bottom. Okay. All right. Now, bring back my Misty tool. And I put the butterfly, which is now my new guide, back into the Misty tool and get my paper, which has gotten away from me. Ah, here it is. My burgundy paper. So you just line it up over the image of the butterfly, center it within the guidelines. But this has to stay tucked to the corner. So if it moves, move it back. Look straight. Now I'm take my magnets. I may need to move this to make sure I've cleared the stamp. Thank you for your patience. There we go. Now that I know is where I need it to be. So for this is going to be emboss. So I'm going to run my embossing tool over this real quick. And I need a new one because it is dropping powder all over everything, but it's easy to just knock it off. Don't worry about that. So I am taking my Versamark and inking up my stamp. Hopefully I won't break a nail in this video. I'm standing up doing this, so I'm a little bit off balance here. Okay, and close that down. And I think, yes, there we go. You can't see it very well, but once I put the embossing powder on it, you will be able to see it. I've lost my spoon for this. Okay, clip that extra off. There we go. Centered. Now, I'm going to set that aside and use my heat tool on it, but I need a second butterfly. So, moving this out the way and get my burgundy ink ready and my panel for the inside. Now this butterfly is going to be offset a little bit, so I'm going to take my paper and move it up to about where I want the butterfly to come on, and I think about there is good. Okay, and hopefully I'll be able to clear that. Yes. Okay, and this I'm going to ink up with the Raspberry Jam ink. And this is very similar to the Stays-On ink. I mentioned this Stays-On ink in the last video, how it stains the stamp. This Hero Arts shadow ink will stain the stamp. So I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time to clean that afterwards. But I'm not going to do that on camera because I showed how to do that in the other video. And there we have it. Okay, I'll clear this up and move on. Alright, now moving on to this. I have my heat tool, but before I use it, I want to make sure that I don't have any stray embossing powder where I don't need it to be. So I'm taking a clean paintbrush and going around and knocking all that off. Now just give a second for your heat gun to heat up. And you'll see it change color very quickly. Once it's changed color, just move right on. Don't keep holding it in the same spot because you don't want to burn the powder. Now that just needs a moment to dry. It's still a little tacky, so I'll set it aside. I'm also going to need to emboss the sentiment right here, which I guess this is probably dry enough to do, yeah. So in order to do that and get that straight, I'm going to use my stamp-a-ma-jig. So I've already stamped it on the film, but what you do is you take your film, I can show you again in just a second. You take your film and you line it up. I hope you can see this because this is a transparency. You line it up and tuck it right in the hook of that, and you put your stamp in the corner here and straight down and straight up. And now you have an imprint of the stamping. Now you take, let me clean this real quick because I need Versamark for this. I use black so that you could see it. You take it and you line it where you need it to go. That's why it's transparent, so you can see right through it. And I want it about there. Until I moved it, of course. There we go. Get my Versamark. And again, bring in the, hold the film in place, bring in the arm, and I'm pressing down really hard to make sure that card doesn't move. Move this out of the way. And straight down and straight up. I'm bringing a piece of paper. And just sprinkle it right over the top. Knock the extra off. There. I'm going to set that down. I don't want to accidentally emboss this, so I'm going to put this back in my little container here. Just tap it right back in. Grab my heat gun again. And it's still warm, so this will go quick. Okay, let's set that aside. Now moving on to the next step. The rest of the card assembly is very easy, so I'm going to just let the music run and assemble the card. And that's the finished card. It went together very quickly, very easily. I had I had a little bit of a hiccup because I forgot to put the gold glitter tape on, but I was able to quickly get this panel off and go get another piece of beige and fix that. So now let me show you how to make the envelope. I'm going to show you two different ways on how to do it. First, I'm going to use the Martha Stewart Score Pal or Score Buddy. Score something, I'm not sure the name anymore. I've had it so long, which allows you to make envelopes with this little extra part, which is tucked in the back. Okay, so envelopes can be made for any size, and this guide shows you a couple of standard ones, but you just need to do a little bit of math and you can figure out how to make an envelope. You score the A side, which is the short sides, if there's one dimension, turn it, and then you score the B side. So for this example that I'm going to be using here, this is a 7x7 square piece of white paper, and I should have grabbed another color to make it a little bit easier to see, especially with my little shadow buddy here. But for the 7x7, it tells you the size of the card that you want to make, and then the size of the paper that you need to cut, and then which line you score for the A and which line you score for the B. In this case, I will score it at 2 5/8 for the A and 3 1/4 for the B. So it's pretty set and dry. I'm going to turn it this way so I can see it a little better and get my bone folder. So you take the paper and match it up with this angle, with the edge of the paper at this point, and you find the 2 5/8, which is right here. You can follow it up to here and see it, but they brought the measurements down here to make it easier for you. So you score at least twice to make sure you get a good bend. I'm going to go 3 times for good measure, and then turn it and score the other side the exact same dimension. Which is 2 5/8. Now you turn it, and this will be the B side dimension, which is 3 1/4. Make sure I have it. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe this side makes it easier to see. And there is my dimensions of my card. Okay, let me move this aside real quick because this is no longer needed. Now I need to grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut these points where the lines intersect. Just cut right along the score lines. It should be looking like an envelope to you by now. Okay. Now, take your bone folder and just fold the score lines. Some tape. There we go. You don't want to go to the tip on this side. And you want to be sure that you don't go too far in so that your card doesn't stick to the envelope when you put it in. And this part you wouldn't tape until you're ready to slide your card in. But that is one fine envelope. Very quick and easy. Another way to do an envelope, I'm going to make an envelope for the size of the card. And this piece of paper is 9 by 9 square. And I'm going to be using another method, which is the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. This is basically going to be doing the exact same steps that I did on the Martha Stewart one, but it has a score line here and you just follow it. And you just watch along with me and you'll see how it's done. I won't even slow this down and talk because it's pretty simple. So I find the 9 by 9, which is for the 5 by 6, and I know that my score line is 4 1/4. So you tuck the paper in and bring it over to 4 1/4, which is there, and you punch. And I'm going to get their score bone folder, 4 1/4, and you tuck it in the little hole, and it will just go right down the score line, the little groove. Turn the paper, and this time you line the score line that you just did with this little piece of thing sticking out, and bring it down and punch. Same thing again, line it up. Now you take it on the other side, and this one has a corner rounder on the back, and you just tuck it in there and make the little corner rounds. So I'll finish up the envelope. And there we are, one envelope. And just to show that yes, this card will fit, come on little wings, get in there. There we go. Very easy. So that's the card today. Thanks for watching. I'd like to thank my brother David for providing the music for my channel, and I would also like to thank my husband Martine for helping me with the math and to figure out how to do the Martha Stewart envelope method, because I hadn't quite mastered that, but now that he helped me, I understand how to do it, and it is very simple. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Get the word out. Let other people know that I'm doing videos. I'm trying to get my numbers up. I appreciate all the comments and I read them all. Thanks for watching and have a great day.